Hi there, folks. Simon here with another of these finals matches in this beginner tournament Q2 2021. This is Phase Spaced versus Gueenee, and this is their game one. I am actually joined by Unsweet as a co-commentator who is a veteran player. He's been around for a long time. He actually took quite a bit of a hiatus, but has just come back, and he's still strong as ever. I believe he just beat Fwib, who is our current TAC champion. And then we did have a little bit of a hiccup in the audio at the beginning of this recording where I forgot to turn off the stream is starting music. So we get a little bit of that for maybe 2 minutes or so, but then it quickly resolves itself. So without any further ado, let's jump right into this game one of this Phase Space versus Gueenee finals match. All right, here we go with game one of the finals match in the beginner tournament of Q2 in 2021. This is between Gueenee and Phase Space, or Ajaxi, or a number of different names that you can call him. And today we have a special guest commentator, Unsweet.
Hello, everyone. Ready
That
for
would be
this
him.
finals match?
And it should be pretty good. We saw yesterday, not Gueenee, Unsweet. No, not Unsweet either. Who did we see yesterday? Phase Space. That's right. We saw Phase Space play pretty well in game two against Alf or Skolin. Did pretty well there, and so we should be seeing a pretty solid matchup between Gueenee and Phase Space. And Phase Space has been in the community for quite a while. Less than a year, though, I believe. And then Gueenee has been in the community for a couple days before this started. So we're looking at adjacent corners here to start things out and playing for that standard mirrored opening that we talk about in the openings video of TAC University. Looks like they're pushing speed here, going pretty quick. Not wasting any time to play these first few moves. Black probably going to play a capstone over here at e4. Does play the capstone there at e4. Looks like that capstone comes right over to immediately cut this off. I would have expected maybe something else from white here to combat that, but black's doing a good job of cutting off that vertical threat.
Yeah, definitely playing a forcing move in the beginning is interesting from Gueenee there, but I think, anytime you can make your opponent do something that's forced, then I think you're kind of have some sort of game plan for how you're going to move once they do capture.
For sure. As long as you can figure out what you're going to do afterwards and that it works out for you in the end, for sure.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that you playing for the one straight line isn't gonna kind of box out your eventual cap placement here.
Yeah, and you also don't want to make sure, you don't want to sort of build yourself into a hole because you don't want to give up your momentum just so you can make that threat and force a capture. Because especially if that capstone comes over, then boom, then the other player has momentum and you're going to have to get that back. So we do see White's capstone finally drop here. And I like the positioning for it, even though it doesn't follow a lot of the same guidelines that we talked about in the capstones video of TAC University. It is still a pretty solid position for the capstone, and he needed to get it down pretty soon. Otherwise, he would have been running out of good opportunities to drop it. But we see Black quickly trying to isolate that capstone by capturing away from it.
I don't mind the move there because I think you're about to run into quite a little bit of trouble if you let white control the E and the F files there. So
Yeah, I liked the capture to isolate the capstone. I liked that a lot from Black. And so White's going to have to do something to get that capstone back in the game. But it definitely looks like Black is in control of this game so far.
yeah, I mean, that's what you see is that early capture is still beneficial because black got their cap nicely placed in a center. and white being boxed out a little bit from dropping their cap to chase that early initiative kind of, um, is leaving them with some difficult choices here.
Oh, for sure. Looks like White's taking his time here to think about how to respond to this tack threat from Black. Black would win here with a placement at E3 or F3 plus, and so White's going to have to do something to stop both of those. And it could be a capture from E5 down, could be F4 left, and there's the F4 left. And I imagine we're going to see that capstone come to the right on top of that stack, but potentially not, because if it does come over and bring the flat below it, because it can't leave it behind, if it brings the flat below it, then we'll see White drop a wall right on D4.
Yeah, and I think I'd favor placing another flat here, maybe looking at F4, just so that you don't find yourself getting boxed out from the rest of your road, which you may find right now.
Yeah, and this is where you'll see that D4 wall. It's got to happen because he had to have been expecting that. And placing that wall would be really strong here for Black, strong here for White because it would just isolate all those other pieces. But Black can then start to focus on a vertical threat using that essentially empty side of the board here, where they could play up at a5, go down for the c 2 and 1, or start to build along the other lines as well. But this whole side of the board is just Black right now, and so that would be a pretty solid play. Is if White does decide to wall here at d4, Black can start going for that vertical threat.
Yeah, I'd like to see them try to pursue um, either going down to C2 after we see the wall, which I think is the only move here. I think we're in agreement of that.
Yeah.
Um, but it'll be interesting which way they decide to pursue after the wall comes, because taking some initiative and building at C2 or wherever they like to build, you still got to be careful that you don't give up too much on those E and F files there because, oh, all
Oh,
right.
that was an interesting wall. Dropping a wall at f4. And so I guess White is really holding on to the fact that they want to build at d4 for their own vertical road. Um, I mean, that makes sense, but this is again another tag threat here from Black, just being able to play here at e3 or uh, do 3 e4 minus, which is play tag notation, which we covered in the play tag notation or PTN video of TAC University, in case you're unfamiliar with how that works, just like Unsweet happens to be unfamiliar with how play tag notation works.
Yeah, many geniuses in the music world, they never knew how to read music. So, no, not trying to compare myself to those people, the Beatles, but I think that we're looking at maybe F5 here to renew your. Oh, okay.
Now, Black's going for that vertical threat now. Playing at a5 next is going to be what he wants to do. White's kind of in a bind here. Going to have to capture over probably with d2 left to really interrupt all of that. White is in trouble here. But there is something to note. White, Gueenee has very recently joined the TAC community, very recently learned how to play TAC. Had learned to play, I think, two days before the tournament began. And since his previous match in the semifinals, has not played a game of TAC. So it's been a few weeks, actually, since he has played a game of TAC. So this should be I guess, a warm-up match. He probably should have taken this a little more seriously.
Yeah, I think that can cut both ways sometimes. I know spending a little bit of time, if you're too close to the game, you may find that your strategy's fizzling out a little bit or your intuition's kind of not up to par and spending a little bit of time away, you think you're playing better when you come back because you're approaching it in a fresher way. I know sometimes that's the case for me, as I'm prone to spend some periods of time away from the game, but I think that coming back, you're kind of renewed. Doesn't necessarily look like that's the case right now, as those quite. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Dropping another wall there. Really fond of those walls, but that's just immediately renewed. It's going to have to be that D2 left capture, like I was talking about before, I think, to really make a meaningful impact on this wall or on this road. Oh, wow, just keeps renewing those threats over and over again. This is.
Right. I think now we'll see F5. Um, it's the only threat that can be renewed without capturing. So I think keeping the pressure on is maybe the right move here. Um, no sense in capturing right now, I don't think, since you have those walls that are on either side. He's going for the capture. I think White's proven that they're just going to end up walling up everything, and so um, I think
I don't
this is
know.
maybe a slightly weaker move because now five, if you want to play that as black later, you're going to get this stack that's going to be controlled by the B6 wall that can now jump over and cover up some of C.
Well, F5 and E6 were both options that would be a road without captures, and so that was strong too. But now White here, making that capture, controlling that stack. Now Black's got this wall here, placing the wall, even though they didn't really need to, but I feel like it was a solid play because it keeps this stack from coming down and capturing down onto C4, which is sort of the linchpin for both the vertical and the horizontal threats. And so this
Yeah,
wall coming out really is strong to control that stack.
really like the play. The wall on B6 is pinned right now, so it's a nice play by Black. They can jump on that stack. Uh, White can't take it over immediately. I think that if Black does end up controlling that stack with the C5 wall, then we're going to see a renewed wall by by Gueenee there on C5 so that they can't throw it down.
Yeah, I'm betting the same thing. But this is an excellent example of an offensive wall, kind of like we talked about in the walls video of Tank University. But it's using it pretty well here. And I note that Guinea is pretty fond of walls in general, and we can see that from this game with 4 walls played. Now, I don't like that particular play. And the reason I don't like that play, 2c6 right, is because he could have accomplished essentially the same thing with a flat placement at d6. However, I understand the logic behind it by keeping this wall from capturing that stack and liberating that captive. But if he wanted to do that, I would have expected maybe a spread over onto d6 and e6 as opposed to just leaving the flat here at c6 as well. But I can see merits to both of those.
Yeah, and so okay.
See, what I thought from here when black captured over with this wall, instead of playing a white here, I would have expected maybe the capstone to finally come over and get into this game. Because right now it is not in the game, and he needs it to do something and to work for him.
Yeah, I'll have to say the capstone placement was unexpected for me when it was first put down. I was expecting a C2 capstone placement um, to achieve a similar effect. Now, see, this is
Another attack threat here. It E6 was cut off because that was a attack threat for the vertical direction. Now he's got the F5 placement going for that horizontal attack threat now. Just keeps on renewing these threats over and over and over again. And another wall. That is 5 walls played from white. At least 5. I don't think anyone have been smashed, but man, that's crazy.
yeah, White's regardless of what happens, is going to find themselves quite behind on flat count here. but that's kind of relevant if you're not dealing with the current road threats. So
Yeah, and right now I don't think this game is going to be going to flats anytime soon. I imagine that
yeah,
this is going to end up in a road for black at some point because he's just so far ahead right now. And there's currently no tack threat, but it's very very close to one. This is another opportunity I'd say for white to finally get that capstone into the game. Bringing it over onto D2 would allow him to throw it up onto D4, which would interrupt both the vertical and horizontal threats, and able to move that around and do some work. So I think that if he wants to do anything in this game, he's got to make that move at some point before it's too late. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. So let's look at the flat count here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 for white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 for black. And black does have some positive flat count differential moves. And flat count differential, positive flat count differential, all those things are talked about in the flat count differential video of TAC University, in case you're wondering about how that plays into the strategy. But he does have a +3 move available, does instead make the +2 move right here with this wall. And so now it's going to be 12-7, I think, in terms of flat count. And so that's going to be huge for black. It's really, really suffering right now, is what is what white's doing. White does have the opportunity though to take that capstone and bring it over because it's not an immediate win situation right now. So he does have that opportunity, can pull that off.
yeah, and I'm thinking we're seeing some preparation here by black to make his stack controlling d4 instead of e4 and giving himself some opportunity here to throw the stack with his capstone and create immediate road threats.
It looks like that's what he's going for, yeah. But we have noticed that there aren't a ton. Okay, so
Mm.
he moves the capstone to that point. That I no, that was not a good play. The reason that wasn't a good play is now this capstone has essentially pinned itself because if it moves left, it gives a road to black, and then black gave that up to make another threat in the vertical direction here. Now white can stop that by throwing the capstone left and leaving a double white stack behind. I don't know. I feel like that was a bit of a blunder from both white and black, but I think that white could come out ahead on this if he plays it right.
Yeah, I'll have to say the capture by black was definitely not what I was expecting.
They have since been avoiding a lot of flat on flat captures. Um, for the most part, there have been a few that have been sort of necessary, but they've been avoiding them, which falls into play a lot with the captures video of TAC University and the advice given there. And for the people in the chat who are playing a drinking game, for how many times I have mentioned a TAC University video, good luck. All right, so white capturing over here to interrupt that threat now that black has vacated this d4 position because no longer pinned. And so he is able to make that capture with that wall. And that's a big part of why I thought that d4 plus capture really was not a strong move, and it really hurt him because it eliminated some of the pins that he had going on with those walls.
Right. I tell you, I know there's possibly a tempting move to do something with the capstone stack here, but I like a little bit more of a quiet move by just placing on d4, creating that threat that immediately needs to be dealt with, because you know that if you need to smash the wall, if white then moves down and moves that wall stack down onto D4,
Mm-hmm.
know that you can smash it because those three whites can't go up and make any road, and you're creating a threat in both directions after tempting that wall to come down.
For sure.
So I'd like to see placing on D4 here, but we'll see. Okay.
Oh, but now, now if white brings something down, black won't be able to smash a wall on d4 because it would lead to a road for
Yes.
white.
Yeah.
I don't know what the thought process was on that move. Maybe he's just kind of afraid of that vertical threat from white.
Yeah, and I think there wasn't really a whole lot to fear there. Black's still in control, but
We might
we'll
see
see how-
white take the whole stack on e3 and move it left to be able to come up, spread, and crush that self crush the wall on d5. But it looks like he could be going for a bit of a drawbridge situation here. He wants to set up this drawbridge so he can move this wall stack to the right. And drawbridge is a term we talked about in the terminology video of TAC University, where it's when you move that wall stack somewhere and leave behind a flat that creates a road. No tack threat yet, and basically just gave an opportunity for a really strong flat count differential move for black. Not quite sure
Yeah.
what white's thinking about here. Hmm. Rabbit Boy in playtag saying he should be crushing that wall on e5, and actually that looks pretty good. That's a solid move, a really strong one that white isn't going to take. It probably doesn't, or black isn't going to take because he doesn't see that option. Instead, going to play a very defensive wall down here at the bottom to come over and capture onto d1 and cut off any sort of vertical threat that white's making. I find that really fascinating. Not going to use this stack to come down.
Yeah, I do think the wall crush would have been a very nice play for a couple reasons. Um, One is if you leave those whites behind and they're focusing mainly on covering up on four, you still have plenty of strong moves of throwing your capstone across. But yeah, I think we are seeing quite a little bit of caution that is maybe unwarranted at this point. But
For sure.
both players are definitely trying not to get backed into a road that they're possibly unaware of. They're trying to give themselves a little bit more peace of mind before finding something, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, black can't make that. Yeah, well, I guess he can make. No. Yeah. He can make that crush now, and it would still be a viable move. It would likely result in this stack on e4 just getting spread out to the left to cut off the threat. That would successfully cut off the vertical and horizontal threat at the same time, but it would still, I think, be a really solid move for black. And white is just content to keep moving on around this wall going down. And here we see attack threat from black going in that vertical direction. White may
Yeah,
decide
I
to
was
capture over with
expecting
e6.
I was expecting we'd see the D stack, the D6 stack move down and cover 5 and 4, but it's an interesting play.
Hmm.
You do have two blacks there on D6. You want to start being careful, although you have a wall next to it and you will be able to ultimately control it. That that wall on C6 is getting pretty overworked.
Absolutely, it is. Got a lot of flats in there that white wants to take control of, and let's see, wouldn't be able to on the next turn if he threw the capstone over to the left. Would be able to do some work with it. Does decide to go for that capture to make that tack threat in the vertical direction. This is where I think we'll see this wall come over to the right, which is a tack threat in two ways, whether by spreading the wall stack down. Oh no, he wouldn't be able to do that because of the carry limit. Well, I guess then just by placing here. Because let's look at the carry limit here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he'd be able to leave behind one black flat here. So white playing just a regular flat here would do the job just fine. Looks like Rabbit Boy says there might have been a Tinue, but he's going to check the lines to see if there was a missed Tinue there.
I know it was pretty close, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Um,
And there might have been one there. White is just going to drop that flat up here at C6. Let's look at the flat count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So black's still up by 3 flats and has positive flat count differential moves at the ready, whereas white has no positive flat count differential moves. Sorry, has 1 +2 move. Yeah, it does look like Gueenee is slowly recovering here. Starting to kind of catch his stride, I guess. Figure out how to play the game again. And that is pretty promising for game two because there is a very slight advantage here for white in 6x6 games. And Gueenee is playing as white here. And so still on the back foot for most of this game. But in the next game, we'll have to play extra hard to get ahead while playing as black.
I really like that move from black.
Yeah.
I was thinking of it quite a lot myself, because if you can find a way to control down there in that part of the board, then once you eventually do move your capstone stack over and control D4, you're giving yourself that opportunity to go down and smash, and you'll give yourself road threats in each direction there.
Hmm. And it's also good because it cuts off the potential road threat that white had building for that vertical direction, in addition to setting up for future offensive moves here going for F1 to A4. I like that. I really do. I think it's smart, and it also starts getting more flats on the board because white right now controls when this game ends because white has fewer reserves. And that could come back to bite them later on in the game when they have fewer reserves left and are behind on flat count, if that comes down to it. But right
That's
now, it
right.
looks like white's trying to start a capture war with C5, coming down and capturing here. If black wants to take it, it's going to have to interrupt this whole area by using C4 to do it. And then white can just recapture with D5 and then make some spreads for some positive flat count differential moves.
Yeah, I think black's got to be careful here, because if you interrupt too much what you're trying to accomplish in the middle of the board just to get into this capture war, you're going to find yourself likely getting walled off a little bit more. And there is that wall that can jump over on e5 and
Hmm.
end up moving down and taking away a lot of the beautiful things that you've built there.
And here we go. That capture war happened just as we expected. This is where the wall drops from black to come over and recapture it and basically throw a wrench into all of what white was planning to do. Uh, but I'm not sure how bad that actually is because once that wall does come up onto c5, white can drop another wall here at c4 and basically say, okay, you know all that stuff you've been working for the whole game? Yeah, I've just ruined it.
Yeah, I think there's opportunity there. We might see white just try to grab the stack right now. Okay.
Oh, I like that. I liked that move because it keeps the stack out of reach of the wall, but also leaves room for some positive flat count differential moves that also interrupt what black is planning. So I'd say white's actually in a decent position here.
It's quite a nice recovery, yes.
I am very shocked by that. I think that eventually a 2e3 left move here, moving this whole capstone stack to the left, which would be able to reach this stack up here at d6. I think that's a solid move. And it would also be able to move left and do some things in that direction. I think that that's when things are going to start to really shift for white here. But I'm a little impressed with white's recovery here. But I'm not sure if that's due to really smart plays from white or blunders from black or both. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, it seems as though didn't want to get too overzealous with the offense and wanted to plan a little bit for White's possible recovery, and by planning for a possible recovery, allowed White time to recover. When if they had just kept their foot on the gas, I don't think they could have recovered. So it's interesting trying to balance the offense and defense in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, playing for that defensive sort of position and sort of playing, okay, I need to make sure that he doesn't do this. That really opened the door to allow him to do that.
Right.
And we are going to look at the time here as well. Gueenee down to 4.5 minutes, face space down to 6 minutes. And I know that from talking to them, I know that Gueenee is very much not a fan of short time controls. Uh, said he played a game of TAC on PlayTAC a while ago versus Crumbot, which is the new bot by Ali, which plays in Blitz 6x6, and said he hated the time controls of it, and that really got the better of him. So hopefully we don't see something with a time really run into this because we have seen some issues with time in the games recently. Actually, with Phase Space versus Skolin in the first game, Skolin disconnected and didn't even realize it. Ended up losing to time because of that. And so when Skolin basically had a guaranteed win, so it's really tough and a real shame when that happens. But looks like we're seeing a lot of action with these walls from black, moving over, making sure to capture all of these stacks. Really surprising that white made that move to allow that black wall to come over and take that stack.
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the move. I think that they're kind of forcing Black's hand here, and they're forcing it into a nice position because now they've got to make a decision here with whether they're also giving up that black piece under B5 there, um, which is also allowing Black to kind of renew the thread on the A file. So it's looking better for Black than it did a few moments ago.
White now playing here at f2. I understand the play because he wants to get an anchor point on this right side of the board so he can, I guess, move this capstone over to the left, threaten that stack, threaten to go left, and threaten this stack. But black can cut off a lot of what white wants to do just by spreading this wall stack out to the right and go over here onto d4. And that ruins a lot of what white wants to do and doesn't interrupt too much of what black wants.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see okay. I think I'd like to see black start taking charge in the center of the board, maybe getting that full stack over to D5. Then you've got opportunity for that spread of the wall, even just a flat on A3, and you start kind of forcing white's hand to move over with you, and that means that they're not renewing any threats, that we're looking at, like E5 and those sort of deals, because white's forced to move over with you if you try to take control over there.
Here's what I like. White playing here at a3. And I think this is what white is doing. White is setting up to move this capstone stack left. Because playing at a3 first means that's a attack threat that needs to be answered. So it has to be something down here or over here to do it, which allows white to then toss that up and capture onto d6. And so I think that's what we're going to see right here. We're going to see 2e3 left. Because but he's not doing it. Okay, never mind. He's not doing what I thought. I feel like that would have been the move right there because he set that up perfectly to make that attack threat and to make the capture threat on d6.
Yeah, I think whoever moves left first is going to control the game, because you're really forcing the other person's hand once you move over.
Okay. Yeah. I think black is trying to eventually move this capstone over to the left to then smash this wall for a road. Didn't want it to be as obvious as going straight along the one, but it looks like that's what they're kind of being forced into doing. White still has the option to take this stack over the left onto d3, and I think that would be the move here. Instead, plays a move that is not a attack threat and that gives up the hard capstone. I think that was a pretty big blunder, to be honest.
Yeah, and so I think we're going to see face space move left. Um, uh,
Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I'm remembering now Gueenee's style of play. He doesn't try to make a road very often. He's playing for flats. And he has 3 reserves left. Let's take a look at the count now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. White has doesn't have the lead, but has the opportunity to kind of force this game to go in that direction. And I think that's what he wants to do. He wants to try to play for a flat win here. Black does have some positive flat count differential moves that are going to make that really difficult for him. And I don't think that white realizes that. I think it's going to be really difficult for white to get a flat win here.
yeah, and I think face space moving left is really, really forcing, because now if you're Gueenee, you can't allow him to come down, and that's devastating for both flat count differential and for that wall that's sitting there pretty on D1, waiting to be smashed once that kind of threat is made on the left side of the board there.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to end up well for white. I think that that move with the capstone really set him back because he had it set up to make a really strong play, and kind of blundered it by going for a different move there.
I would have liked to see a little bit more of an aggressive move from black here. But it looks like Gueenee is going to end up giving up that stack on D3.
Mm-hmm. And
And
Gueenee,
if
it
you're
looks
face
like he wants
space
to
and you're
capture
moving over
here.
D2,
Because it looks like White's trying to smash D2, but I, I don't know why. Like, I get that it has some captives, but like, if you wanted to get captives, you would have gone up. And so I'm starting to wonder what the game plan is here.
yeah, and I mean, there are some options here for black. I mean, if that's what you think they're going to do, and you don't want to run away with those whites under D2 and move up, then you have some opportunities to just
Play a flat at D1 or
exactly,
B1.
yeah. Yeah, and that's what kind of I was expecting. If you're expecting the smash, then
Now this I feel like was sort of a bad move from black because now white can take this and spread it out to the left. And sure the wall can come back, but I do feel like I don't feel like black is playing aggressively enough. And while black is quite ahead in terms of flats, I don't know. I feel like it needs to play a little bit more aggressive and end this game before white has the opportunity to come back and win it.
yeah, I agree. And I think that's kind of the theme of the game so far. And we're seeing Gueenee get quite low on time, so may end up seeing a couple more mistakes before we're out here.
Yeah, minute and a half on the clock for him, 3 minutes on the clock for face space. This looks like white's got a strong positive flat count differential move here coming up. In either direction he goes, he's going to be capturing at least one stack of these, like a double stack. And so I imagine black's going to take that and spread it to the right, just like that, to keep it from being a +4 move. Or +3 move? +3 move, yeah.
I tell you, I would have appreciated possibly just placing on D1 instead of making that move.
Yeah, because it would have forced white to deal with that threat.
I believe the only way to deal with the threat is capturing E1, I think.
Well, and or using uh, A2 down or placing here at B1, right? No, no, because it has the double threat. That's right, the double threat. So
Yeah,
yeah, D1 would have
yeah,
been the play. It would have just been the
yeah,
E1, E2 down.
yeah.
Yeah, D1 would have been a good one. It's still a good one. Still a solid
Still a good
move.
one.
Yeah,
Still a
I'd say D1 is probably still his best move. And he can use this capstone to come over.
and you know what? And then black can throw that entire stack all the way down to E1, and that would look like game to me.
Yeah, I think that would be Tinue if he did play at D1.
Yeah, so we'll
Yeah.
see.
Oh, that also looks very promising.
Because
There's
yeah, and I
attack threat
think that,
here, horizontal, but not nearly as strong as playing at D1 would have been. Yeah, D1 definitely would have been a Tinue. I just played through it in my mind, and I'm pretty positive that that would have been Tinue there.
yeah. Um,
White making the capture to stop that. Black is going to want to. No, just play at D1. D1 renews the threat, and white can't stop it by capturing left. The threat just happens here, too. But he gives that away. Too worried about that stack from white when he could have just ignored it and forced a response instead.
yeah, and I think that's what we see happen a lot of the time in newer players is that stack becomes so enticing that simply placing one flat is winning, but you don't want to give up this big stack. It's so juicy.
Mm-hmm. Here is The attack threat, it's immediately cut off by White's stack movement. This is where I think things are starting to look really good for White. White's able to make a lot of more positive flat count differential moves to come back ahead on flats. White only has one flat left to play. Gonna have to make some stack throws and spreads in order to come back from this. Let's see the count: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He can't do it. There's no way White can do this, especially now that this wall came over, able to make this strong +3 flat move.
Yeah,
The
that was
game
a
is basically over for White, and Black should win this guaranteed. But it definitely is going longer than it needed to. At 51 moves in this game. A lot of unnecessary stack movements when it could have just been a flat played or something like that. Black should just be dropping flats at this point. White's down to one reserve. He's ahead on flats. There we go. Dropping another flat. Going for those tag threats. White's doing their best to catch up, but they're not going to be able to. Yeah, I think there was an opportunity for White earlier on in the game to come back and really do it, and they looked like they were starting to make a comeback, but I don't think they made quite the right move, and I think it was that capstone move. Or earlier on in the game when the capstone spread across instead of just moving the whole stack one over, that was really what sort of was the clincher there for the game that decided it. And Black can win just by playing flats at this point. There's no amount of captures that White can make right now that would put them ahead. But he's taking his time. Probably going for probably counting the flats on the board and make double sure since he is down low on time. They're both now sub 1 minute on the clock.
Yeah, and you never know what that time could do to you.
Yeah, we could see Face Space lose on time here by taking too much of it to play his moves.
You might be thinking about that stack on D6 there. And can I let yeah.
That's exactly
Uh,
what he was doing. He was making sure that White couldn't capture that stack on D6. And I think White wanted that stack. And we might see White. Okay, we didn't see it. I thought White was going to play right to be able to threaten it again,
yeah.
but instead went for the better flat count differential move. Still not enough, though, to make a difference. Black's still ahead on flats and able to keep going just by placing. White only has 7 flats showing. Black has 10. And Black has positive flat count differential moves, and White does not. Gueenee down to 10 seconds on the clock. Looks like he may try to smash on a3, but I don't think he's going to get the opportunity because there will be a tack threat from black on the next turn. "58 moves in this game." This is a long game for sixes, especially for the time controls. We do know that the longest game in terms of moves played was by two humans. Oh, longest game by two humans in terms of moves played was 76 moves long in a recent tournament, I believe the Ryder Cup tournament. And then the longest bot game in terms of turns was actually from me with 81 moves played. But that's against Intuition Bot, doesn't really count.
Yeah, I say we've come this far. Let's try to smash the record.
Yeah, go for it. Go for the record. 76, you can hit 77. My
Oh boy.
goodness. Leaving behind that stack. And black could have made a threat earlier, but didn't go for it, which is surprising. With the stack here on d6, spreading it down.
And just a proper spread here wins the game. Phase space low on time. We'll. Oh, I was expecting it going right, but
That's actually better in terms of flats, I think, for black.
I think if the black spread right, there's no way for the cap to come over.
And this is a win for black here. There we go.
There we go.
White missed it because it was low on time. Black was low on time. They were both really low on time, so that was frantic there at the end. 62 moves in that game. That's nuts. That's nuts.
Well, black made it count, that's for sure.
Definitely.
Not exactly an economy of moves, but got the job done.
All right, well, let's check. That is game one of the finals of the beginner tournament between Gueenee and Phase Space. The win goes to Phase Space as black. They will be playing a second game, which will be Phase Space in white, Gueenee in black. And if Phase Space wins that game, he will take home the grand prize and be dubbed the winner of this tournament. If, in fact, he does not win and Gueenee wins, this will be a tiebreaker. We will need a tiebreaker game to go ahead. So that's pretty fantastic. We'll see what these two people are saying now, if they are going to play another game right now, or if they're going to take a little break, or play another time, or what's going on. So that is all for today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all of the TAC resources that are out there, including but not limited to the TAC subreddit, my channel for other videos like TAC University and learning about the game, playtac.com, how you can play online with other folks, but especially the Discord server, which is the community hub for all of TAC. And that is where you can find people to play with online. You can play with them asynchronously straight through Discord. And if you're unfamiliar with Discord, that is a text and audio chat service. And it is completely free. You don't even have to download anything. It'll be right through your web application, or it can also be a mobile application as well. Be sure to check that out. It is fantastic. It is the best place to talk to everybody about TAC, and it's how we organize all these tournaments. So that is it. Again, thanks for watching. And until next time, have a great day and happy TAC.